Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janarandana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramhamsa Pravacharya Shtotra Shachar Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And by regularly attending classes on the Bhagavatam and serving the pure devotee, all which is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Today we're in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. In Chapter 14, we've just finished talking about Dhruva Maharaj, and that has taken almost 10 chapters, about 8 chapters. And then the Bhagavatam continues as it does with the different descendants in the Vedic lineages. And then right now it's a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, and then Vidura hears something interesting and is asking. So then that's how we now get this story of King Vena. Why did the Brahmins kill the king? What the heck is going on with that? Normally that doesn't happen. Can you tell me more? And that's how the whole Bhagavatam, most of the history that we hear, they're talking about a lineage, and then there's some small point that they mention, and then the hearer picks up on it and asks a question and wants to hear more about it. The same with King Parikshit and Shukadev, same with the sages and Naimisaranya and Sutta Goswami. And so now we've made our way in the almost in the middle of the canto. There's 31 chapters, and so we're in chapter 14. Now the story of King Vena. So of course Dhruva Maharaj had a son. Then his son was doing really good, but then I believe it was the son of his son that was the bad one. Oh, let's see here. No, it's actually more than just the son of Dhruva. It's like the many generations after Dhruva was very good. My dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj departed, his son Ukal did not desire to accept the opulent throne. So even Dhruva Maharaj's son was raised so well that he didn't want to get into the passionate nature of ruling. He immediately attained all perfect things. He was also like, this is like King Bharat. Like he took birth for a couple more times, and then the last time he's like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend I'm a retard because no one will bother me anymore. Because actually, the more you seem like you're fit, then people want you to actually do stuff, like rule the kingdom or become their husband or do all these kind of things. So he's like, no, I don't want any attention. I'm just gonna. They say never go full retard, but he did. So then he had a younger brother, Vatsara, and they had 6 sons, and one of their sons had 3 more sons. And so now I'm trying to calculate how many sons down we are. Anyways, finally Vena is born of the wife of Anga and Sunita. So this is like great grandson of Dhruva Maharaj, or something close to that. And the Brahmanas knew that he was bad, but they still wanted him. So here we are in text. We got it on the board there? 14. Wait. Text 12. Yeah. Tad vidvabir asadvrito vinosmabi krito nripaha santvito yadi novachutam nagrihishatya dharmakrid lokadikara sandagdam daishyama swatejasa. Maybe Srikar knows, or you guys are knowing about the intricacies of chanting Sanskrit meters. If there's 6 like this, should I wait to do the high part till the 5th one so it resolves on the 6th one? Or does it, like when you're reading with Vaisheshika Prabhu, is there any kind of way they deal with? Tadvidvabir asadvrito Venosmabi krito nirpa santvito yadi no vacham nagrihishyatya dharmakrid lokadikara sandagdam dashyama svatejasa tadvidvabir asadvrito Venosmabi krito nirpaha santvito yadi no vacham nagrihishyatya dharmakrit lokadikara sandagdam dahishyama svatejasa. Please. Tadvidvadbir asadvrito Is that cookie dough? What is that? Cookies? It just seems very sticky. Your guys' hands are. Okay, anyone else chanting? Nunadpira sadvrito Ninusmar krito nirpaha Tadino yadino vacham Nisyatya dharma krid Bhakadikana sangardam. Ta, his mysterious nature, vidvadbihi, aware of, asadvritaha, impious, venaha, vena, asmabihi, by us, kritaha, was made, nripaha, king, santvitaha, in spite of being pacified, yadi, if, na, are, vacham, words, na, not, grahishyati, will accept, adharma krit, the most mischievous, lokadikara, by public condemnation, sandagdham, burned, dahishyamaha, we shall burn, svatejasa, by our prowess. The saintly sages continued thinking, of course, we were completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet we nevertheless enthroned Vena. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus by our prowess we shall burn him to ashes. Please repeat. The saintly sages continued thinking. Of course, we were completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet we nevertheless enthroned Vena. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public, and we will join them. Thus by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes. Saintly persons are not interested in political matters, yet they're always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. Consequently, they sometimes have to come down to the political field and take steps to correct the misguided government or royalty. However, in Kali Yuga, saintly persons are not as powerful as they previously were. They used to be able to burn any sinful man to ashes by virtue of their spiritual prowess. Now, saintly persons have no such power due to the influence of the age of Kali. Indeed, the Brahmanas do not even have the power to perform sacrifices which animals are put into a fire to attain a new life. Under these circumstances, instead of actively taking part in politics, saintly persons should engage in chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, simply by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the general populace can derive all benefits without political implications. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundina Tarinam Prernanda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Isram Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you everyone for being in attendance. This is probably the biggest attendance of people in the class this whole year. For me, at least. What happened? So we're Tad vidvadbir sadvrito venusmabi krito nipra santvito yadino vacham nakrishyati dharmakrid lokadikara sandagdam dashyama swatejasaha. Of course, we were completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet we nevertheless enthroned Vena. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public, and we will join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes. So the Brahmanas are the head of society, and they're reigning over the mode of goodness. To be a Brahmana, you need to be established in the mode of goodness. And the mode of goodness is all about, where the mode of ignorance is about destruction, the mode of passion is about creation, the mode of goodness is about maintenance, which is the hardest of the three. It's the easiest to just destroy something. You know, when we were kids, we'd always love to play Legos or play with building blocks. It's kind of hard to build something, but then when you're done, you kind of get bored. You smash it all, and it's really fun. In 2 seconds, you can break it after spending 20 minutes or 30 minutes making something. But maintaining it is always the hardest. If you built something and worked hard, and then your other friend wants to come and smash it, you have to convince them, no, don't smash it. I want to keep it here for a while. And then later, your mom would come home. All right, now we need to clean up. We're having people over for dinner. You need to get these toys out of here. And so through the course of time, everything has to get destroyed. So their duty in Varnashram Dharma is to maintain the society, but not through political means, which political means I have friends and I have enemies. And there's ways to leverage my friends, and there's ways to defeat my enemies. And if you study the Panchatantra or the different Niti Shastras, they talk about all the ways to make conflict among other friends, or to properly know, the Sun Tzu said that if you know the strength of your enemy, and you know your strength, and you know where you're going to fight, then you'll never lose 1,000 battles. And you're always having to think like that, like a politician, like a Kshatriya, everyone's my enemy, and what should I do? That is conducive for the mode of passion, but it's completely non-conducive for the mode of goodness. Where the Brahmanas are trying to contact Brahman, they're trying to maintain, and even the perfect Brahmana, which is the Vaishnava, is trying to contact the Para Brahman, or Bhagavan. And for that, to go into those modes, those higher modes, they need to be established in Sattva Gun to reach Shuddha Sattva Gun. But they're still in charge of maintaining things, and they understand how the laws of the material nature work. These Brahmanas in this age of Vena, King Vena in Dhruva Maharaj, this must be in Satya Yuga, they knew that without a proper king, like Krishna sends, of all forms of punishment, or all forms of suppressing lawlessness, I am the rod of chastisement. So that means if a criminal needs to know only two things to be happy. He knows what are the laws, and will I actually get punished if I break it. And if he knows he won't get punished, then he'll happily just break the law. Like sometimes they have like some rule that you have to steal over $800 worth of stuff to be classified as enough to have a police officer arrest you. So people are like, okay, if they're not going to do anything, I'm just going to take whatever I want as long as it's under $800, I'm good. And so, but if they made it like, the ancient eye for an eye, if you steal something, then the corresponding weight needs to get chopped off of your hand or something like that. Thieves cannot have hands. Then you'll see, and if that actually happens, then you'll see much less people will be inclined to steal. So Krishna says, of forms of suppressing lawlessness, I am the rod of chastisement. And so the Brahmins knew that they needed some sort of king to make sure that there was no rogues that will disturb the population. Because if without a king, then with the vacuum of power, then all the thugs and the mafia and all the different things take over. So with that logic, even though they knew that King Venu was bad, they put him in. But the Brahmanas aren't dumb. They plan everything out. If plan A doesn't work, they have plan B. Plan A, install King Vena, and he's a jerk anyways. He's going to kill all the rogues. If they try to do anything bad, immediately they're dead. We saw him kill a bird for less, kill ants, kill all these things. He killed his own friends for saying the wrong thing. So he's going to freak out the criminals. But on the other side, if he starts to freak out the innocent population, then our plan A is to try to convince him what is the right thing to do. We know we can lead him. If he just listens to us, everything's fine. We can completely make the nation happy and perfect. But then if he doesn't listen to us, the population will hate him and they'll go against him. And we know secret mantras. It doesn't matter how big his army is. It doesn't matter how strong he is with his Kshatriya Tejas, that he may be able to shoot an arrow and it can kill 100 people in a blink of an eye. But we're Brahmanas. We have Brahmana Tejas, which is more powerful than Kshatriya Tejas. And we can just, by grabbing our Brahman threads and uttering one syllable, we can make him burn to ashes. So we're not worried because we actually have more power. And that's the thing of the Brahmanas. All Brahmanas, genuine Brahmanas, have more power than the Kshatriyas, but they just don't use it because they're outside of politics. They don't care about this is my enemy, this is not. They're not trying to be on that level of duality, that level of lower consciousness. And so that was their plan B. And spoiler alert, they're going to go with the plan B. For those of you who haven't read the Bhagavatam, that's what's going to happen in the next few verses. And so this purport Prabhupada's talking about, however, in Kali Yuga, saintly persons are not as powerful as they previously were. They used to be able to burn any sinful man to ashes by virtue of their spiritual power. And now like the most notable spiritual people, so-called spiritual people, can manifest a few handfuls of ashes from their fingertips. So it's a little bit a difference in terms of power. Sure, maybe they had to do some tapasya to do that. And for any power, you have to do tapasya. But in Kali Yuga, it's just not possible. We only hardly live 100 years. Even Prahlad Maharaj breaks it down. Actually, we only really live like 20 years. If you live a lifetime of 100, it's like cut down by so many things. Like in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You're just a stupid kid. And then you're a stupid preteen. And then finally, you're get in the way to work, but then you're in debt and all these things. And you're sleeping for half the time anyways. And then you get sick and then you get old. And you don't actually have so many real years to live and do tapasya. Whereas back in Satya Yuga, they could sit and do tapasya for 10,000 years. And that was just like an average, only 10,000 years? I've been here for 200,000 years. And try to catch up. And so, how they used to be able to burn any sinful man, now they have no power. They don't even have the power to perform sacrifices, which animals are put into a fire, and then you chant some sacred mantra and they come out. Prabhupada did say that if we were doing proper I don't want to use the term eugenics. Proper raising of children with the proper Shakti, the proper culture, the proper learning, that within 3 generations, the children would be able to be proficient in Sanskrit and proficient in Vedic culture and mystic power enough to be able to read the Agni Purana or read some Shastra and learn how to, just with mantras, start fire, which is like the beginning to be able to have Brahmanas that are on the strength that they can like kill the president or something like that by their power. So I don't really think we're anywhere near that, unfortunately. At least we do see that the children are engaged in the sacrifice in this age. What is the sacrifice? The chanting of the Maha Mantra. So we might not be able to bring animals like a dead goat or a dead cow or a dead horse back from life, but with the kirtan, especially kirtan that's done purely, like kirtan has when I was in Ujjain, or known as Avantipur Vedically, which is where Krishna and Balaram had little sikas, and they were learning in the school of Sandipani Muni, he was the father of Madhumangal, and they were learning all 64 arts. And so one of the arts is singing. So when you're doing Sankirtan, you're singing. What are the 4 parts of singing? So you have pitch, sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Then you have the rhythm, whatever kind of rhythm it is. Then you have the tone, like Srikar was showing us the different tones of the different singers. And they might be singing the same pitch and the same rhythm, but you can tell by their tone that it's like, is that Raj or is that Pavan or is that, Kishore? Like whoever it is, everyone has their unique tone. And then what's the most important part? The pada. The most internal part of it, the meaning of what you're singing. When the meaning is attached to that, then all these, the pitch, the rhythm, the tone, they become like astras, like arrows to go into someone's heart. Because when you hear a very nice tune, you open and you're receptive to it, and you can put the meaning of that hidden in there. That's the power of the Maha Mantra, and then it gets the meaning inside the heart of the listener. That's why the people don't need to know what the Maha Mantra is about. It has all the knowledge in it already. And when the proper person is chanting, it can be very powerful. And it doesn't make animals come back for the dead, but it makes animal-like people come back to their human senses. The more that people can hear the Maha Mantra and engage, and more the devotees properly engage in that sacrifice, the more the fire of the Sankirtan is burning, the more that the animal-like people will come back. And, the more, and, we don't, Prabhupada wouldn't really he sent some devotees to be politicians. Balavanta in Atlanta, which was going to try to be the governor or the mayor or something like that. And he tried for a little bit, and Prabhupada said forget it after some time. So generally, devotees don't really like to be engaged too much in politics. But then there becomes a point, at least for these brahmanas, there was a point at the tipping point. For us, we should understand that if we make the population better by slowly increasing their consciousness, by chanting the Maha Mantra, by teaching about Vedic knowledge, then automatically they'll want, like if we're in democracy, which is not the optimal form of government, but in democracy, they'll want to vote for someone. I'm not going to vote for you unless you're following the 4 regs and chanting 16 rounds. Otherwise, you're just a nonsense. I'm not going to vote for you. If the population is demanding that the leaders be saintly people, that the leaders be follow some standard, because now the leaders are all, there's all talks of them, all the leaders can just be controlled by any other government because they just find them in some, it's called a honeypot. They send some attractive person to them, then they secretly video them doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and then that's that. Because they have no scruples. They're scrupulous. Scruples means like moral character. And in Vedic teaching, Vedic teaching can teach you everything perfectly, much higher than the standard of any so-called Western education, much more in detail. But the main thing that the Vedic education teaches you, Chanakya Pandit says, a person isn't learned unless he sees all others' belongings as dirt or garbage, that he sees anyone but his own wife as a mother, that he feels others' pain as his own pain. And there's one more I'm forgetting. Chanakya Pandit's, what is an educated man? Maybe it'll come later. But just that, like you're actually to the level where you're not thinking about, oh, how can I just, right now modern education is just teaching us how do we beat out the other people, and there's only limited resources, and how can I get mine? And whereas Vedic culture teaches you, no one is your enemy except your mind, your uncontrolled mind. So control your mind and understand that no matter what happens, you're going to get what's coming to you. And so you should just accept it. If it's good, it's because you did something good in your past life, and you shouldn't go crazy over that. And if it's bad, it's because you did something bad in the past, and now you're getting your just rewards for it, and you should be happy that now that's being neutralized. So either way, whatever happens, you should just be neutral. It's going to come, just like right now it's really cold. I mean, I remember I was sweating really badly like just a few months ago. I mean, for me, I love when I sweat, because it's like, it means my body can be like very limber, and it's very good for health to get all the sun and all the heat. And now it's very cold, but we just have to tolerate it. Wherever you go, it's going to be some form of hot and cold. Maybe it's going to be a little more mild than this, but anywhere you're going to get that. So we just have to tolerate it without being disturbed. And so it's said that by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, simply by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the general populace can derive all benefits without political implications. So the Vedas have so many different rules and regulations to give people benefits, the Vedic benefits. We want the Vedic benefits. But if you sum it all up, Smartavya, this is Padma Purana gives us this nice thing. Smartavya satatam vishnur vismartavyo na jatuchit sarve vidi nideshada syur etayor eva kinkara. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu, and he should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be servant of these two principles. So if Sankirtan is always going on, then it's helping the performers of the Sankirtan remember Krishna, because they're chanting Krishna's name, and it's also helping whoever's listening to it or hearing it remember Krishna, because they're hearing Krishna's name. And Prabhupada gives a very nice purport to this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that there are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. All of these principles are servants of this one basic principle. You should always remember Krishna and never forget who? Krishna. Who? Krishna. Okay, that was like a 4 out of 10. Thank you. I'm not going to give you another chance. I'm not like that. This is possible when one chants the Hare mantra. Therefore, one must strictly chant the... Yeah, you got to think. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, 24 hours daily. One may have other duties to perform under the discretion of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. In our Krishna conscious movement, we've recommended the neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary if one wants to remember Krishna and not forget him. Of all the regular principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. So then you may ask, well, what are we going to do after we chant 16 rounds? Because it only takes 2 hours, and I slept for 8 hours, so that I got 14 hours left. What the heck am I going to do? So then what are you going to do? One may sell books or enlist life members or render some other service. But these duties are not ordinary. They serve as an impetus for remembering Krishna. When you go with a Sankirtan party or you go to sell books, you naturally remember that you're going to sell Krishna's books. In this way, you're remembering Krishna. And when you go to enlist a life member, you have to talk about Krishna, and thereby you remember him. The conclusion is one must act in such a way that he will always remember Krishna, and one must refrain from doing things that make him forget Krishna. These two principles form the basic background of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is saying you must strictly chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 24 hours daily. And this is also the recommendation of Haridas Thakur and via Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the Harinam Chintamani, saying in the beginning you chant one grunta, which is like 4 rounds. So maybe when someone just meets the devotees, I remember when I met the devotees, like they got me a japa bag and I started 1 round every day. And then soon after I extended to 4 and then 8. And then I was doing 8 sometimes, 16 times, 0 sometimes, 8, 16. And I remember I came to New York City and then the first time, that's when I started chanting 16 rounds every day. And so then once you chant one grunta, then you chant one nirbanda, which is 4 gruntas, which is 16 rounds. Then after chanting 4 nibandas, that's 1 lak. Then you're chanting 64 rounds, and then you chant 3 lakhs of the holy name, which is 192 rounds. Then you're just constantly chanting. So that's the point. Our point of chanting the Maha Mantra should not be that we just stop and chant 100 beads. Prabhupada says 16 rounds on the beads and unlimited rounds off the beads. When you actually get the perfection of chanting a mantra, it means that you do your practice when you're consciously focusing on chanting it, in a controlled environment where there's no distractions. And then throughout the day, the mantra should be continuously going on in your head, whatever you're doing. Then you're constantly intact with Krishna. Even Bhaktisiddhanta said he noticed this about some of his disciples. So people are complaining, oh, he's only chanting 16 rounds. He's not chanting 64 like we noticed. He's like, you only see that he's chanting that, but I see he's chanting the full amount. Because even when they're doing service, when they're doing whatever, if you're distributing books, you might be chanting in your head, oh, Krishna, please, Krishna, 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 let me distribute this. When you're cooking, you're hearing so much kirtan, you're chanting. But the ideal is that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is just nonstop going through your head. There's been days when I'm able to do that, and those are much more powerful days in my Krishna consciousness. And there's been days when I don't do that, and those have been much worse in my Krishna consciousness. So my personal experience is that the more that the chanting goes, the better that my whole Krishna consciousness experience goes. So that's, I can personally proclaim, I can personally profess this this profound truth in Prabhupada's purport. And so we have the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kamasha Nashanam, Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedisho Drishyate. These 16 words of the holy names of the Lord will destroy the sinful influence of the age of Kali. All the Vedas have this conclusion, and there is no other method. What is that? Haranam eva kevalam kalo nasti eva gatir anyata. That there's no other way, there's no other way. But how is it possible to benefit without chanting? Here's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's very wonderful instructions on this. Chanting the Hari's name is the Yuga Dharma, the prescribed process for this age. How can the people of this age attain auspiciousness without following the prescribed method for the particular age? How can we attain auspiciousness by following paths other than chanting? After all, the chanting was introduced by the all-auspicious Lord himself. To think that there is an alternative to the process of chanting Harinam is mental speculation. In this material world, people spend their time imagining alternatives to Harinam. Avoiding Harinam is what this world is about. I'll say that again. Avoiding Harinam is what this world is about. So when we're on a material level of consciousness, we don't want to chant our japa nicely. We don't want to hear about the Lord nicely. We don't want to go Harinam or distribute books at all. That means we're on material consciousness. That means we're sick. That means we need to take the medicine. Unfortunately, or fortunately, but unfortunately for us, if we don't have attraction for it, like Goloka Prema Dana Harinam Sankirtan. What is the word after that? Okay. How does that bhajan start? Yeah. I've spent my life uselessly, having attained a human birth and not worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. Golokera prema dana harinam sankirtana. The treasure of divine love in Golok Vrindavan has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. Why did my attraction for this chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not taken the means to relieve it. So we have poison in our body, we have sickness in our brain, we have dullness in our consciousness. We're dying, and there's the cure for cancer is here. The cure for all diseases is here. And that Jeev Jago Gora Chandra Bole. Wake up, sleeping soul. I've brought the medicine for the age. What is that line? Not Harinam Nashibo Lagi. I gotta hear. Enechi Ashodi Maya Nashibo Baru Lagi. I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you're suffering. Harinama Mahamantra Lao Tumi Magi. Take this Mahamantra. So here's Bhaktisiddhanta again. Those who think that hearing and chanting are not the only necessary processes for spiritual fulfillment, they try to measure the Transcendental Lord against themselves, and they thereby transgress His orders. Such people are non-devotee servants of Maya. It is not good to contradict the Lord, for by doing so, our ruination is inevitable. And then he ends with the Harinam Eva Kevalam Klo Nasteva Gatir Anyata. So that's about the power of the sacrifice of the holy name, and we should understand that in general, the current of the age, the current of the population, and our own weakness and sickness, we're not going to want to do it. Even if we try to forcefully engage ourselves into do it, we're not going to get our minds into it. So we need to make a concerted effort and change our minds by hearing from the higher sadhus, by repeatedly hearing Krishna's message, and beating our mind with a stick 100 times in the morning and with shoes when we get home 100 times at night. And one of the ways to help our mind is get the help from the Lord's wonderful generals. This is a recommendation of Raghunath Das Goswami, that we cry out for the help of the different powerful devotees that have appeared. And one reason we made the Vaishnav calendar, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted very seriously to have a nice Vaishnav calendar, so that we could, on each of the days, it could tell us who to remember, and we could get an echo of their sincerity, of their purity. And so today is one such day, Bijmashtami. It's the 8th day of the waxing moon in the month of spring, Magh, winter. We just said Vasant Panchami. Doesn't that mean it's spring? Spring outside, guys. And so Bhishmashtami, he was one of the 12 Mahajans. Do we think anyone has the 12 Mahajans? Actually, there's more than 12 because they count the 4 Kumaras as one. So there's actually the 15 Mahajans. But anyways. Parikshit. Wait, Parikshit isn't a Mahajan. I don't know the verse either. Hanuman isn't. Okay, Brahma, then Shiva, Narad, the Kumaras, Kapila, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad, Janak, Bhishma, today Bhishmashtami, Bali, Shukadev, and Yamaraj. There's a shloka for the Bhakti Shastri that one time I memorized it and I came up with a funny pun for like the each of the first words, but I forgot that. Tulsi is calling. He maybe has the answer. Tulsi. Yes, you're on the air.
Narada, Shambhu, Maro, Kapilo, Manu, Balir, Prahlado, Janako, Bhishmo, Balir, Vayasakir, Vayam.
So no Parikshit, right?
No Parikshit. But he's also Mahaja.
Of course, yeah, and then Prabhupada even says these are the old Mahajans and there's the new Mahajans. Like the 6 Goswamis are the new Mahajans.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Tulsi Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we can learn a few things from Bhishma. His name Bhishma was originally named. Who's your friend that's your godbrother that's going to come visit us in a couple weeks? His original name was Devavrata. I mean, his name was always Devavrata. But then when his father got enamored by Satyavati, who previously had given birth to Vyasadeva, just kind of, I don't know if he knew that or not, but he wanted to marry her, and there was some sort of drama that she said, well, if I have kids from you, you already have this kid from Ganga Devi, Devavrata, he's going to be the eldest son. So when you're a king, what happens to your eldest son? He's the heir apparent. He's going to become the king in the next generation. So she said, what's worth it? I'm never going to marry you if my sons are just going to be second class. And then so to support his father, he said, no, don't worry. I want you to become my mother-in-law. I will just take a lifelong vow of celibacy, which is one thing for a Brahmana to do. Generally, the different castes go through the ashrams differently. Shudras, they basically go from nothing to get married. There's no real, they don't really, they maybe have brahmacharya and then directly married and that's it. The Vaishyas, similar. Maybe they actually go through more strictly brahmacharya because they're not Shudras. Then the kings, they go through brahmacharya ashram, better than the Vaishyas could. They go through grihastha ashram. Then you always hear they separate, but in the vanaprastha ashram, or they go to the saintly places with their wife on some pilgrimage or tour, like Dhritarashtra does in the Bhagavatam we hear about, and so many. So generally Kshatriyas do that. And Brahmanas, they're the ones that go through the whole gamut of ashrams, from brahmachari to all the way up to sannyas. So he was basically saying, I'm going to take sannyas. I'm going to renounce my right to get married and everything like that. So then at that time the sky is Bhishma, which means terrible vow. And so it's very, I guess he was very obliging to his superiors, which can be a very powerful quality. To serve one's superiors is given in so many different examples by different saintly people. He gave us some bad examples that we can learn from. We can learn from people in two different ways. If they do something wrong, we can learn not what to do. And they do something right, we can learn what to do. And so Bhishma, when Draupadi was disrobed and asking for proper, a proper result coming from the government, that her perpetrator should be everyone saw him do it right in front of there, and yet no one did anything about it. And so Bhishma showed he was neutral, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm bound to whatever the king decides because I'm the servant of the king. That was his cop-out answer. And neutrality in the face of adharma is adharma itself as well. So if something's bad is happening and we have the ability to do something about it, but we're not, then that's also adharma. It's the same thing as it's ahimsa if you're not preaching, because you know something that can really help people, but you're not spreading it, then ahimsa. Yeah, it's not ahimsa to do that. If ahimsa is killing people and causing harm to others, so you're causing harm to others. If you have something that can actually benefit them, but you're withholding that, then that so-called neutrality is actually also ahimsa. So, ahimsa. Anyways, Sanskrit words, whatever. And so this is something we have to learn, not to tolerate this kind of thing. In the past, the devotees have tolerated so many ridiculous things because the so-called leaders were engaging in it, and we shouldn't tolerate it now. And then he vowed one day, he was chastised by Duryodhana on the battle of Kurukshetra. You're not trying hard. You just like Yudhisthira and Arjuna. You're not really fighting them. Like, what the heck? Come on, you're supposed to be the strongest. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. I really am going to fight. And to prove it to you, I vow, when they take a vow, it's very heavy, Kshatriyas, I vow that either Arjuna is going to die or Krishna is going to break his promise. Either way, one of those things are going to happen. You'll see. And then, of course, Bhishma is, even though Arjuna is a very powerful archer, Bhishma is better than him and was defeating him. And so Krishna had to defend Arjuna. So there's no weapon. So Arjuna's chariot was like, I think, stuck or something. Or somehow he grabbed a chariot wheel and went to attack Bhishma. And then Bhishma was firing arrows and they hit Krishna. And then right as he was about to kill him, he just bows his head and is praying. Because secretly he was worshiping Krishna. And what that taught us, or showed, is that Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. Krishna he cares more about his reputation with his devotees than he cares about his reputation with the world. He cares more about being known as a lover of his devotees than he cares about being someone that upholds their solemn vow and is like telling the truth. He showed us how to pass away in the right way. It says in the end of the 8th chapter how the yogi should pass away in the bright half of the year when the sun is going up, during the day, etc., because there's different favorable circumstances that can make it easy for going to the higher planets or getting liberation. And as devotees, we don't really follow them, although usually Krishna makes an arrangement so that the devotee has a good death. And even if they don't, Krishna can make some other transcendental arrangement to help them. And so Bhishma was there. He was surrounded by so many devotees, and even Krishna came there. Yudhisthira Maharaj, he was giving so much lectures on. And we can read in chapter 9 of the first canto, maybe today is a good day to read from that, about Bhishma's, even though today's Bhishmashami, his appearance day, his disappearance day would have happened whenever 18 days after the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, that was the beginning of it. I guess his appearance day will be sometime soon as well, because it's also beginning the process of the sun going up. And that's what he was waiting for. It said that while Bhishma Dev was describing all these things, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. And thereupon then, he withdrew his mind from everything and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him. And by pure meditation, he was at once freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains. So he's showing us Smartavya Satatam Vishnu Vrita Smartavyo Na Jatuchit, that you should always be remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna. And so at that point of death, especially at the point of death, is when at the point of death our bhajan and our japa and all our reading and all our Krishna consciousness gets tested. So we're trying to remember Krishna throughout the day, but on the day of our death, that's going to be the most important day to remember Krishna. And he says some beautiful prayers there, but we're already over time. So we can leave that to our own personal or group reading. Well, with that being said, is there any comments or questions, or should we just end the class timely? Well, Ramray Prabhu is going to say something first.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter, the Beta Kirtan pastimes, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing the 200 devotees coming from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri for the Rath Yatra festival, and the king is just astonished to see their chanting. I have never before heard such Sankirtan chanted so purely and so wonderfully. And Prabhupada says how, as from his position as the king of Jagannath Puri, he certainly had the opportunity to hear many kirtan people coming and chanting kirtan. But the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, because they're Nitya Siddha and pure devotees, they're chanting, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, this is Prema Nam Sankirtan. So Prabhupada describes or tells in his purports that if we follow the regular principles and are strict and sincere, then our chanting will attract other people to take up the process of devotional service. That's a very nice section of Srila Prabhupada's books, Madhya Lila chapter, the Beta Kirtan pastimes, to learn about how to chant Hare Krishna purely.
Yeah, when the devotees are very powerful, it's said that the kirtan styles that Lord Chaitanya used are unable to be chanted now because they're just too complex and too beautiful for anyone to recreate them. Even the generation after them, the Mridanga beats were lost until Narottam Thakur brought some of them back. But of course, that takes, when you're a pure devotee, everything becomes more vibrant. Like, if the more pure devotees there are doing things that can transform everything into, a more beautiful atmosphere. Shrikar, you wanted to say something? Where's the mic?
In the program describes how difficult it is to maintain a leadership position or some sort of political position, and it requires a lot of humility and also the willingness to listen to, as described in the translation, to your seniors and to the brahmanas. And I just wanted to say that Natabar Prabhu, if you were in Satya Yuga, then you would easily have the power to turn someone to ashes. So thank you so much for all of your service, because in this age you spend a lot of time chanting Hare Krishna every day. So we're very fortunate to have you as our leader, one of our leaders in this Sankirtan movement. So thank you for all of your service. Hare Krishna.
If I had the power to be in Satya Yuga, then I wouldn't be in Kali Yuga.
Prime age for us to, this is where Mahaprabhu distributed Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunaya Avatiranakulo. He distributed the conjugal love in Kali Yuga, and we have access to that. And so you're the most fortunate for being in this yuga, and we're the most fortunate to be associated with you. So thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say? Gandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Mahaprasade Govinde.